has been in practice in Egypt for 1,000 years. So if you look at the Egyptian language as a whole, then it is the oldest language and the longest language ever. And above all, it is the language of Egypt. This is it gives realization of the value of this language. And let me say this, that before the language being a church language, long before it, it's the people's Egyptian language, it is ours. And whenever they ask, should we keep the language, should we private with it, and so on, it all depends how you feel. If you have got this feeling of belonging, and this is mine, then that's fine. If you don't feel this, then it's up. The language in the 400 years during the Ottoman and Mamluks period era, things went very, very bad to the country as a whole, including the church, the monasteries, those who studied the Coptic church and Coptic culture. They stopped by the 11th, 12th, 13th century, but the 400s followed. Things were very, very bad, and there was no art, there was no theology, things. The number of the Egyptians, Christians, has dwindled to almost 150,000 to 150,000. Okay, the number of Egyptians as a whole were low, but the percentage of Copts were very, very low. And when they say it was a miracle for the Copts and the Coptic church to survive, truly, truly it is miracle, one of the series of the miracles as we witness these days. The language, by the 10th century, I mean the Arabs, as you know, they came to Egypt from the 7th century. The language continued on a large scale for 200 years, and then quickly, by the 9th, 10th century, there was quite a remarkable drop, even compared to other languages like the Syrian languages. Things, as I said, went bad until the Napoleon came, and then Muhammad Ali started in the 19th century, when the whole country started to progress or to prove itself as a state. And at that time we had this visionary, remarkable Pope Cyril IV, which I'm sure most of you they hear and know about. And this man, he was a saint, obviously I'm saying this man, out of love and respect, he meant quite a lot. I don't know if he didn't direct the church in that way, how things would have been. You could have quite easily said, well, nobody knows Coptic anymore, and that's it, we'll continue with the Arabic. But he managed to do quite a few remarkable things. And he encouraged learning the language as a language, together with like French or German, Greek in particular, Turkish. And also he asked all priests, everybody in the church, to pray only in Coptic, not a single Arabic word. And he wrote, I mean, there is quite a lot of things written here if you want to look at it later, but he said exactly why he is doing this, what is happening, what is the aim. It wasn't just a bit of a reaction, or no, it was a great vision. From the middle of the 19th century onwards, we had great Coptologists, whether Western or Egyptians, including somebody like Claudius Labib, you know, the grandfather of Dr. Ahmos, Hummus Abdul Masih al-Masoudi, one of the remarkable men, and so on. These pillars in the church, they had their thoughts. They are saints, they are spiritual men. So it's not something that we can brush aside quite easily and say, well, all right, what is value, we have to understand what we pray for. Of course we have. Of course we have to be considered, but also we have to consider the whole issue on a wider scale. And then, as Sayyidina Amber Rafael said, you look into the steps before us and read their thoughts. I was so pleased and excited when I knew that Archdeacon Habib Gerges became a saint, and truly he was. And when we look, for example, what he said about the Coptic language in his famous book about reforming the church, I passed few papers around, but he said something like that. The language is our thoughts, our tradition, that was the language of Egypt in the past before the entry of Arabs. It is the only link that is left to relate the Copts of our days to the old days. The language lost as a language to be spoken, and it's only the church as its habit or tradition to keep things. The church kept this great tradition, and they had strict orders all through the generations that the service of the liturgy is only done in Coptic. If it wasn't for this, all the rest of the language would have gone, as it happened in the past, and this poor language has not found except a small corner in it and in the church, and it goes on to say that it is a shame that the church has kept this tradition, this language, during the time of severe persecution. I know we are persecuted now, but really nothing to compare how things were, and meaning that it is shame to be neglected during this time of relative freedom. If you want to learn Coptic, nobody going to arrest you, I'm sure. If you are teaching on a larger scale, yes. Right. Example of Father Menassa Yohanna, if you know him, about 100 years ago, was again great young priest. He was a priest at the age of 20, and he did remarkable, great things again. And he wrote a book about the history of the Coptic language. He, according to his estimations, there were still few places in Upper Egypt, like Manqabat, that they spoke the language about 200 years ago. But again, it depends how much they spoke it. But it survived for a while in certain areas, and in the history is telling us about Arian Gerges, Abuna Filtaos, Qom Mustakla, Mal Quzman, Barsuma Fandi, and he tells us, and he says that still the progress of the language is poor or weak because of the weakness of the sense of identity inside the Copts. So this just touch on examples. There are more examples on the book of what they say or thought of the Coptic language. Now, how are we going to move? With all modesty, I started learning the language and worked on it for the last 53 years. I was 17, a medical student at the time. Things were never easy for the language. I had a very rough time, but I can see in the last 10, 20 years that there is increased interest, especially among young generation, and the church, as always, in the lead. We know how Sayyidina Anthony encourages the language and insists on parts of the liturgy to be prayed in it. We know, at least I know 5 bishops from Amba Quzman to Abba Thomas for Hosea, Amba Epiphanius for Deir Abu Ma'ar, Amba Demetrius for Malawi. I've got 5, at least. I mean, there are more. I mean, I was visiting Baliana, and in one of the small churches, and then when the mass finished, they were praying in Coptic, all of it. And I thought maybe they knew my interest in Coptic, and they decided to say it. But then I discovered the Bishop, His Grace Wisa, that in all churches for many years, they always concluded by Aban al-Lazi in Coptic language. There are things we have to, little things, but really significant. And if we put our hands together, and those especially with the young generation that can really give back life to this language. Our youth in the church, for example, from Mark to Anthony, he was not youth anymore, Kyrillos, Fadi, I've got all of them, Daniel, they all came, and when they come to choose between saying a bit in Arabic or Coptic, my feeling they always go for Coptic. Last year we managed to do a mass in Nottingham, in Eid al-Nairuz, completely in Coptic. But this was done in a day, not Saturday or Sunday. It had to be a separate day for those who like the Coptic language. In Rotherham, we managed to do 50% because it was a Sunday, so obviously people would not have tolerated more. But it will be a good idea, especially 15 minutes ago. Don't forget. If selected churches on occasion like this agree among ourselves, it doesn't have to be Saturday or Sunday, but a special day for whole Coptic Mass, including the readings and the sermon. And this will, again, give us a great feeling. We'll just go quickly to show you how simple it is to learn the language, assuming somebody who doesn't know. I know that quite few people, they know the language. I've got a teacher of the language with us and others, but assuming that one to use the language, we'll say, we'll start with telling how the letters sound like. This is A, E, O. So A as in ask, A as in came, E, short E as in ink, in, O like on, lock, O, long O as in loan. So just simply say A, E, O. Okay? Now, 3 consonant letters, 2 of them they look like the English, the C, but it's always S, the K, okay, and the letter L or lambda. So we start to build words using only few letters. For example, if we take the letter C with the A, then it is sa, se, so, sa, se, so, and you have got meanings for the words, and you have got, there are some papers there, and also the recording that you might have received. Now, if we get a word made of 3 letters, so this is L, A, C, so it is las, and that's where in Arabic lisan there is a connection between the Semitic languages and the Egyptian language. This is together, soak. We hear in Egypt say soak al-bab or soak al-shubak, like pulling it. This, reversing the letters here, it is osk. No, it's not osk. Osk would use the short, because I've got a problem again in the church singing the O and the O, there's tendency to mix them up. So this is soak, this is osk, and this is the last one, 4 letters, salo. It's not salo, salo. Salo is a basket, or salla is in Arabic. This is one lesson about 5 minutes. Then we like going. Sorry, I cannot see it. Yeah. Okay. 3 new letters. This is N, like the N English. This is SH, like Sheen in Arabic, and the letter H. So N, She, and keeping the same previous letters. So again, you can read this. Sha, then Sha, A, Ne, Sha, A, Ne, because I was requested to put a word from in the church, otherwise I'll be in trouble. So Sha, A, Ne, at least we know this Sha until Hatta, and A, Ne is eternity or ever. The word She has got 3 meanings, but we'll concentrate on to go. She, we hear in the church, أفشناف بشوي في قوي صعد أو ذهب إلى أعلى أفشي بسيط يعني نزل تحت and so on. فشي حتى in Egypt we hear it, those who are riding a horse or a donkey or so, they say she, ha. She, go, ha, إلى. She, ha. It is, yeah, in the, with the animals, with the children, you find a lot of the ancient Egyptian still in use. So she, ha means go towards. We read this word, kash, kashin. Again, kash is a pen, originally just like a stem, but became a kash, like other languages, to a pen. If we want to say some pens, we say han, kash, han, kash. In English, there is no indefinite article for plural. This one I chose it. It's ehe, and some cows han, ehe, and then the question why ehe? Because in Egypt we heard the record. Sorry, and ibn al-a. Ibn al-a. It is said when you see somebody did something remarkable, unexpected, you are more clever than what I thought. It might sound like an insult in English, but in Coptic, the Ehe, Haywan Muqaddas, was one of the goddesses. Hathor, if you know Hathor, always appeared like a woman or like a cow. We have got also the bull of Abyss, so it was worshipped in a way. So it's really just telling him that you are good. And last, we have got this. Aha. Aha means yes, zay say. We had said in the previous lesson. Aha, which we stated say ah. Actually, aywa is also an Egyptian. I hope that you like this demonstration, and it can be easily learned. You don't need more than, say, half an hour a week. And if you build up, I hope to do 12 episodes to cover the pronunciation bit by bit. But before you go to the 3rd lesson, try to remember the 2nd lesson.